Good? Go ahead, sir.
And for Terrence, are you ready to feel the Mexican power, Terrence?
Oh, yeah. I'm ready.
Keep Canelo's name out of your mouth, Terrence Crawford. There's levels to this, and he's levels above you.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So a couple years ago, Fernando Vargas, he called Canelo Alvarez the greatest Mexican fighter of all time.
Back on just Canelo, the last thing, because I know a lot of people like to discuss this. A lot of people are already saying that Canelo's already entered like the conversation of like greatest Mexicans of all time.
Could it be?
What do you think?
Honestly, look, with all the stats that he has, nobody's ever, no Mexican fighter has ever done what he's done. My idol is El Gran Campeón Mexicano, Julio Cesar Chavez, regardless. Regardless, he's my idol. I will always love him. You know, it was a dream to meet him, and then he walked me out against Oscar. It was like, to me, wow. You know, it's like, you know, my idol since I was 12 years old to start boxing. And, you know, I was always a fan of Chavez, and so to me, to this day, he will always be my idol. But if you're talking facts and you're talking boxing,
if we want to call it how it is,
you have to call it the way it is, like a true man, like a real man. You got to say that Canelo is the greatest fighter that Mexico.
I mean, if we're talking for skills, if we're talking
about accolades, achievements.
I mean, now, if you missed the end of that clip because Fernando's son was cutting him off, he said that Canelo is the greatest Mexican fighter that Mexico's ever had. Now, once again, he said this a couple years ago, and I made a video about it when he said it. And in that video, I said, if you're calling Canelo Alvarez the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, then that doesn't say too much about Mexican fighters. When you just think about the fact that Canelo Alvarez, he tested positive for PEDs. Now he has 3 losses on his record, and he hasn't avenged any of the losses. You know, when it comes to like the greatest fighters of all time, the ones that have losses on their records, they avenge those losses, right? Sugar Ray Leonard, he avenged his loss to Roberto Duran. Ali, he avenged his loss to Joe Frazier. Canelo, he didn't avenge any of his losses. His controversial win over Edeslani Lara, he didn't give Lara a rematch like Floyd Mayweather gave Castillo a rematch. Every single time he stepped up in competition and fought real competition, Canelo, he either lost or he won in controversial fashion. Hey, if that's who you want to say is the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, knock yourself out. I ain't got no problem with it. Even the guy from DAZN, AK, I think that's his name, he said Canelo was the greatest Mexican fighter of all time as well. Now, he's a real big fan of Canelo's, but he said it. So with that being said, Fernando Vargas, he gave his prediction on the Crawford-Canelo fight. And he predicted that Canelo would not only win the fight, but Canelo would knock out Terrence Crawford. Well, this is what he's saying now.
Thank you.
Fernando, and what are the thoughts on Canelo Alvarez and Bud Crawford? Huge fight last night, Bud Crawford taking home the 168-pound, all the belts.
Wow. It's
and comprehensively broke down Canelo Alvarez in a way we just haven't seen. What did you think about that version of Canelo?
You know, let me just tell you this. I thought that Crawford was going to have success early, but I just thought that the weight was going to be too much. It definitely wasn't. Yeah, it definitely wasn't. I ate my words up, you know what I mean? But
You got it.
But I always knew that Bud was a great fighter. He can work both guards, the orthodox and southpaw. Amazing talent. He just beat the face of boxing.
You know, Oscar De La Hoya, he said the same thing in his prediction. He believed that Terence Crawford was going to pretty much dominate the first half of the fight, and then Canelo was going to take over. Canelo was going to start walking down the smaller man. And I had said leading up to the fight, responding to Oscar De La Hoya, if Terence Crawford is up after the first half of the fight, if Terence Crawford dominated the first half of the fight, there's no way he's going to lose the fight because Terence Crawford is not a front runner. If you let Terence Crawford take the lead, he's going to do better and better in the second half. And that's exactly what happened. If you notice, in all of Terence Crawford's fights, he finishes stronger than he starts. You see what he did to Canelo in those championship rounds? Man, Canelo, the way he was walking away from Crawford, it looked like he was almost ready to quit, but then he caught himself and he like, wait a minute, I'm over here fighting in front of the whole world. It was almost as if Canelo, he almost thought for a quick second that he was in the gym sparring and nobody was watching, or at least not the whole boxing world. I'm sure Canelo Alvarez has quit in sparring before just off of what he did in this fight in that 12th round and in the 11th round. Terence Crawford had him extremely frustrated. And something that Terence Crawford does is he jumps on you when you're starting to get tired. And it looked like Canelo, he started to get tired in that 12th round. It looked like Canelo, he thought, okay, it's the last round. It's the last minute of the last round. I could finally just rest. The fight is almost over. And Terence Crawford was like, the fight ain't over. In fact, I'm going to push you even harder. And that's what he did. Canelo was throwing slow punches, arm punches. He was tired. And that's the reason why Terence Crawford just completely jumped on him. And Crawford wasn't just doing it to take advantage of Canelo because he was tired. Crawford was also doing it because he loves to close the show, because Crawford is the ultimate competitor. In fact, Canelo is very lucky that that wasn't a 15-round fight, because if it was, Crawford would have stopped him. You know, boxing is also about the battle of the fittest, and there's no doubt about it, Terence Crawford was the fittest. So with that being said, I'm gonna wrap this video up. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
No, Crawford was not fucking running, and I'm Mexican. I go for fucking Canelo, you guys. Canelo got beat the fuck up, you guys. He got school. Yeah, Crawford was running a little bit, but that's what you're supposed to do. They already know how to fight Canelo. The fools that have been running against Canelo always go all the way to the 12th round. Why? Because they know how to fight. Mayweather didn't school them. The fools that have been trying to go toe-to-toe with Canelo have lost, okay? Have gotten knocked the fuck out. But Crawford, nah, bruh. He beat the shit out of Canelo. I don't care what you guys are saying. I was going for Canelo. And there's no excuse, okay? Because he went up 3 weight classes. Plus, he's 38 years old. So he's older. Yeah, Canelo might have more fights than Crawford. And he was saying that he hadn't fought any elite fighters until now. But look, he fought Canelo and beat the fuck out of him. So there's no excuse, you guys. Canelo got schooled. So for all the Mexicans, because I'm Mexican, saying, oh, he was running, he's another Mayweather. Nah, he wasn't fucking running. He was toe-on-toe fighting. The thing is that Canelo doesn't throw any fucking combinations, okay? All he does is 1 power punch or 2 power punch and moves. He doesn't do any combinations. Crawford was throwing combinations like crazy, you guys. Crazy. Beat the fuck out of Canelo.